This is David from Graspable Math. Just here to show you some of the new features of GM and especially its interactions with Geogebra. And so I'll just go through really quickly. One first thing to see is I just loaded this from our server. We now have the ability to save and load interlinked Geogebra and Graspable Math pages. You can see the connections stay and exist between these things, so we can scrub these values using either Geogebra's technology or our technology, both very, very smoothly. But I also want to show you some of the new features that we think really provide some value in understanding the connections between algebra and visualizations. And a lot of this has to do with a feature we call term tracing. What term tracing does is let you see, first of all, how a term in the algebraic structure connects to a term in the window. So you notice this MAC highlights. When we click on it, MBC highlights too. And we can see that the MAC, right, is composed of the average of the point A and the point at C, right? And we get those things glowing in just the ways that we might like to see. Okay, so secondly, when we go over and look at a proof, we can see what happens through the proof to the individual terms. So we can say, okay, the distance between these 2 points is like the difference between the two values. And that means that we can see what happens to that MBC as we substitute in its value, and then as we trace it through this proof. Right? We can see what happens to the MAC, and we can, at a glance, understand some of those interconnections. So for instance, let's say we get interested in the C. Why isn't there a C in here? If MAC and MBC have a C in them, where did it go? We click on any one of these C's, and first of all, it glows over here, so we know what we're connected to. And secondly, we can see it ends up in 0. And if we go here, we can see quite at a glance that there was a C in the one term and a minus C in the other term, and they canceled out. Right? And that left just the B from here and the A from here. Right? And half of each of them. And that's why the length of this is half the length of this. So what these features let us do is really trace through the algebraic structures. At the same time that they let us trace through the algebraic structures, they let us keep all these nice connections. So here's a case, I'm not going to go through it, but where you understand that the intercept of a line is composed of two components, one that comes from the height of this point P, and one that comes from the action of the slope across x. And that means that one of those values, and not the other, changes as you change x, right? As you change x, the height of that point P doesn't change, but this mx part does. Right? On the other hand, when you change the y component, you get a change to the other component. And the important thing is, of course, you can see that beautifully in GeoGebra. But what you can't do as well is trace the action of where these terms come from and where they go to within the context of an algebraic proof. But here, you can just sort of see that at a glance.